You guys, welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. I'm your host, April Chapman, and welcome to today's show. So today, you guys, y'all, we got to deal. We got to deal with this, and I got to take y'all back to South Carolina. Because last week, if you can recall, I did a show where I talked to you about Krystle Matthews and her little secret sleeper cell strategy. Okay, now Krystle Matthews, just to bring you up to speed, if you haven't seen the video, is a former state house rep from the state of South Carolina that was caught on a recorded audio call talking to some YN who was in prison. And let me show y'all the clip.
Some secret sleepers. Like, we need them to run as the other side, even though they for our side. And we need them to win.
Right.
We need people to run as Republicans in these local elections. And this is the only way you're going to change the dynamics in South Carolina. We can battle them in public all day. As long as we know we're working for the same goal, for me, I feel like, y'all, we need sleepers. When we get enough of us in there, we can wreak havoc for real from the inside out. Then we can flip some from the inside out. We got to take back some of these seats, especially in these local elections. We need a group of sleepers.
Now, Matthews and her little secret sleeper strategy, we're here now, okay? Because South Carolina Republicans, y'all, they just gave us a live demonstration. So now I got to tell you about what actually happened, okay? Let me bring y'all up to speed. So here's what happened. I'm going to lay out the facts, lay it out real quick. South Carolina had a redistricting plan on the table. The goal was very simple. Okay, look, redraw the congressional map, and we need y'all to redraw it in a way that would break up the congressman's seat, Jim Clyburn's district, right? Break that up. And this would potentially give Republicans a chance, not a guaranteed possibility, but a chance at a 7-0 congressional map in the state of South Carolina. South Carolina is a red state, as is for now Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee and Louisiana and Texas. And I get it. Whether the left wants to scream gerrymandering or not, let's not play stupid, okay? Both parties do this. Democrats have been doing it with the halo and a little hymn book in their hand and standing behind their little lecterns at their press conference talking about this is about democracy. But Republicans, we are actually trying to do it in a way so that we could keep the country and keep it from resembling Planet of the Apes, right? So when Republicans do it, suddenly the MSNBC political commentators, they start chimping out, claiming it's racism, claiming this is Jim Crow 2.0, all the things. But it is no secret, y'all, that Donald Trump has been pushing Republican-led states to redraw their maps ahead of the 2026 midterms. And South Carolina was absolutely part of that plan. Listen, I can tell you what happened. I'm telling y'all, Trump pulled in the call and he was like, look at here, McMaster, pimpin', yeah. I'm gonna need that district. Okay, I need you to call a special session, do whatever it is that's legislatively allowed in your state. I want that district. I need Jim Clyburn gone. That's how the phone call probably kind of went, sort of, not really. I don't know. I wasn't there. But so what happens? Henry McMaster, governor of South Carolina, he then calls the lawmakers back into a special session. Yes, because originally it was on the table, but there was a lot of resistance to redrawing these maps in the Senate, right? And at first, I couldn't put my finger on what these Republicans in South Carolina, why I was like, why are these people hemming and hawing like this? Like, what's the big deal? Just go ahead, redraw the maps, let's get it done, right? But Henry McMaster ended up having to call a special session by executive order because he don't want no problems with Donald Trump. So he calls the General Assembly back for a special session so that they can continue the consideration of this congressional redistricting. So the House moves. The House passes the map. No problem. But something strange happens. The Senate said, nah, the South Carolina Senate, they were like, I don't think this is what we want to do. And so the South Carolina Senate failed to advance that bill. And the next thing we know, Governor McMaster's office is putting out a statement saying there will be no new congressional map for this election. And I'm like, hold up, wait a darn minute. How does a red state like South Carolina, how do they allow Jim Clyburn, of all people, to survive politically in order to further destroy America? Because, like, if you're conservative, like if you're a Republican that's really conservative, and I'm like, wait a minute, South Carolina is a red state. How does this happen? Who are the people who helped Jim Clyburn survive a redistricting effort? Well, when you do a little research, not a lot, just a little bit, it was Republicans. I lie to you not. And you know what? I have a name for them and everything. I am now calling them the Clyburn Protection Caucus. And here they are. Oh no, they getting put on blast today. The Clyburn Protection Caucus. I made this little graphic because I was trying to figure out who were these jokers that voted in the South Carolina State Senate to prevent the maps from being redrawn ahead of these midterms. So here they are. These are the Republicans who helped block the South Carolina redistricting plan. Take a look at them real closely. These are your sleepers right here. I just wanted y'all to see that. Those are your sleepers, okay? Because now, of course, and matter of fact, let's just put it up one more time just so you can get a good look at them. There you go. This is who I'm calling the Clyburn Protection Caucus. These jokers right here. These are the ones that I'm calling your sleepers. And I don't care if they're going to argue that, well, the process was just a little too rushed. And, well, early voting had already started. I'm like, okay, fine. But here's my question. With everything the Democrats are trying to do to destroy this country, you actually want me to believe that 14 Republicans siding with Democrats is just a coincidence? Yeah, I was born at night, but not last night. But because why is the process all of a sudden, it's suddenly sacred when the outcome protects Jerome, Jim Clyburn? Anybody want to answer me that? Jim Clyburn, with his leftist, progressive, anti-American agenda, absolutely has a whole lot of things that are going to destroy this country on the purview of his mind with his old self in his early millions. He don't care if he's on life support. That man absolutely wants to change election law. He wants to alter voting rules. He wants to flood states with mail-in ballots. He absolutely wants to make D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. He will support the packing of the Supreme Court. He wants to abolish the Electoral College. And in particular, please believe he absolutely wants to impeach Donald Trump. So my question is, why would a Republican that has the prime and lawful legal opportunity to redistrict, why would they use their power to stop Democrats from consolidating power? That is the question for the hour. Do you need me to repeat it again? Why would Republicans who have an opportunity to use lawful redistricting, they ain't got to cheat, they ain't got to do nothing to stop Democrats from consolidating power? I said, all of a sudden, it starts making a whole lot of sense to me now. Because see, these darn Democrats who are utterly trying to destroy this country, you have Republicans protecting one old and mangy looking Democrat, Jim Clyburn. I said, nah. I'm going to tell you guys what this is about. Y'all, this This is not happening in a vacuum. This is not. Back in 2022, when I covered it last week, former South Carolina Democrat State Rep Krystle Matthews, she's recorded talking to a YN in prison. Why is a legislator on the phone with somebody in prison? I don't know, but it happened. And in this call, she is talking about how, look, Democrats could gain power in South Carolina by we need some sleepers, some secret sleepers to run as Republicans. This woman called for Democrat secret sleepers. And the goal was for them to run as Republicans and encourage Democrats to flip things from the inside. I said, now, when this woman said it, a lot of people treated it like it was a scandal, as they should have. But I treated it like a confession. Because sometimes, y'all, these people, they will tell the truth by accident. Every now and again, the mask will slip. Every now and then, the villain monologue, it starts before the movie is over. And Krystle Matthews, y'all, she gave us the strategy. If Democrats can't win openly as Republicans in a stronghold state like South Carolina, we'll just run Democrats as Republicans. We will run liberal-minded candidates in conservative primaries. We'll use open primaries. We'll use low information voters, use all kinds of nice sounding language, talk about local control, and we got to trust the process, and I'm all about fairness, and we don't want to rush. And then when the right moment comes, the moment right, like that actually counts, these Republicans will vote with the Democrats. And that's what I believe happened here. Because how else do you explain this? This does not make any sense that in every other red state, and South Carolina ain't got but one majority black district that's been run by Jim Clyburn. Okay, he been over that Jerome plantation for almost 30 years. How else do you explain? How else do you explain it? I could see if it was 2 Republicans, 14 Republicans vote to not redraw their maps. I'm telling y'all, Krystle Matthews told us the strategy. And when Republicans start producing Democrat outcomes or they start protecting Marxist Democrats, I'm asking questions, okay? I'm checking your fruit. I don't give a darn what your campaign mailer says. I'm not interested by your yard signs or the little elephant on your website. You can tell me all day long that you just love the Constitution, right? Give a little heart and everything. I don't care. Give a cute little speech at your county GOP pancake breakfast. The fruit is in your voting record. And the fruit here is very, very simple. Okay, Jim Clyburn's district was protected. And that tells me everything I need to know. Out of these 14 Republicans in South Carolina, we see you. Oh, please believe Donald Trump sees you too. Because here's the question. Why? Why are these Democrats protecting Jim Clyburn? Like, of all people, y'all, because listen, we're not talking about some random Democrat backbencher with a folding chair and a Facebook page. This is Jim Clyburn. He is one of the most powerful Democrats in America. This man literally breathed life into Joe Biden's campaign back in 2020 when it was on life support. This man is deeply tied to all of the Marxist Congressional Black Caucus and represents the political machine that has been keeping black voters poor, uneducated, heavily indoctrinated, completely loyal to the Democrat Party. That's the formula. Y'all, come on, y'all do know that's the formula. You got to keep them poor, dependent, and politically controlled. And Jim Clyburn's been very good at that. All he got to do is lure him in with a fish fry, give him some free fish in a park, and everybody's happy. He is a good overseer, and them white liberals love him. So that is the part that we need to say out loud. And the biggest question becomes, why would Republicans decide to keep that into power?
Slavery is a choice. Now, some people tell you that freedom is a choice. Well, if freedom is a choice, how can slavery not be one? There are people in America right now who want you to believe that you have no choice when it comes to slavery. They want you to look at your past, and they want you to believe that your ancestors had no choice, therefore you have no choice. And if slavery was not a choice, how did 200,000 black people decide to take their freedom from their slave masters by running away or by killing them? Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death." They understood the concepts of liberty. They understood the concepts of freedom. And they understood that sometimes, as Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty must be irrigated with the blood of tyrants and patriots. It is its natural manure. In order to be free, you must be willing to shed blood. If a robber is going to come into a home, he first must bind the strong man. But if he doesn't bind the strong man will wait and will not allow his house to be shaken up. We must understand this, that freedom is not something that someone gives you. It's something that you accept. And you tell the man who decides to try to take your freedom that this is a death fight. They want you to believe that someone has the power to make you submit to slavery. And submitting to slavery is a sin. One or two things are going to happen here. One thing is, you're not going to leave with a slave. One of us is going to die. Slavery is a choice.
Because you know these Democrats, they love these majority black districts. When they got them a good overseer, somebody like a Jim Clyburn, these districts protect Democrat power. And all they have to do is label it and call it representation. So when Republicans redraw maps in a way that weakens Democrat power, they want to call that racism. They want to call that, oh, that's Jim Crow 2.0. No. It's Jerome Crow. I told you, it is Jim Crow in blackface. And Democrats have been playing this game for decades. Okay, Jim Clyburn wants that district preserved because that district is power. It doesn't matter if the outcomes are trash. It doesn't matter if the people don't have no jobs. It doesn't matter if they all are government dependent and reliant on Medicaid and EBT and every other source of government dependent program that exists. It doesn't matter that they can't get school choice. That district represents a whole lot of influence and a whole lot of control. And it is a political plantation just with updated branding. This is why I call it Jerome Crow. Same masters, just new plantation software. And what makes this so infuriating is that Republicans had the opportunity to challenge that. And we were finally given the chance to take these darn Marxists out of power. Not by doing anything illegal. We didn't have to suppress votes. We didn't have to steal an election. All we had to do was use the exact political tool that Democrats use everywhere they can, and it's called redistricting. And what did these bootleg EBT Republicans do? They said no. So my question is simple. Why? Why would a Republican vote in a way that's going to help secure the seat of a liberal Democrat who we already know he's going to vote with Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi's whole political heirs, the Congressional Black Caucus, and the entire left-wing machine? Why would you protect someone who's going to help advance the same agenda that Republicans claim to oppose. Y'all already know the left has already told us what they want. I told you earlier, they want to pack the Supreme Court. They are going to turn DC and Puerto Rico and give them statehood. And more importantly, they want to impeach Trump. They can't wait to do it. They're going to federalize more elections. They want to use race as a political weapon and government power expanded. They want that expanded from the womb to the tomb. And so Jim Clyburn is not some innocent bystander. He is part of the machine. So why would Republicans help preserve that machine? I mean, we could say, well, unless they're weak or, unless they're compromised, right? Unless maybe they're just more committed to the club than the country. Or unless Krystle Matthews sleepers are not theoretical and those darn sleepers just became activated. That is my political theory. You can't just sit around and just be like, well, they have it all, behind their name. So surely they must be on our side. No. You test the fruit. The same way you test the fruit of a false teacher, you got to test the fruit of these darn Republicans. You test the fruits. You examine the outcomes. You ask who benefits in this. And in this case, who benefited? Jim Clyburn benefited. The Democrat Party benefited. The Congressional Black Caucus, the whole left-wing machine benefited. And who lost? Conservative voters who expected Republicans to fight for them. So I need y'all to understand this clearly. Look, we don't worship political parties, okay? You should never put your hope in a political party. Our king, if you are in Christ, your king is Christ. But that doesn't mean that we ignore corruption when it's staring us blatantly in the face. We don't just turn aside to cowardice and the obvious infiltration and the political betrayal that we just witnessed. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. Well, now we're not rejoicing because you put some wicked people and allowing them to stay in power. And right now, a lot of people in South Carolina are groaning because Republicans had the power and some of them used their power to protect Democrat power. And that is a problem for me. So this is why I realize we can't get anything done. This is why conservatives, we can win an election. We can win majorities and win the argument and win the mandate and still somehow lose on policy. How is that? Because while the voters are sending Republicans in, we put you in office to fight. Some of these jokers are actually undercover Democrats. That's about it. That's it. This is why we can't get meaningful school choice done. We can't balance the budget. We can't defund Planned Parenthood. All of these sanctuary cities keep getting away with lawlessness while the government fraud just keeps ballooning and skyrocketing out of control. All of this EBT fraud and the Medicaid fraud and the welfare abuse and all of the bureaucratic corruption, it just keeps growing like weeds because every time conservatives, we get close to pulling up the roots, here come the sleeper cell Republicans with all their procedural excuses and their soft-spoken press releases and sudden concern for, the process. And, this might backfire. The left is using the government like a darn battering ram against the American people. And you want me to worry about a process? We've watched these Marxists who've marched through all of our institutions, all of academia. They've taken over the schools. They've taken over the universities, all of the bureaucracies. They have taken over city governments, all the nonprofits, corporations, the HR departments with all the darn DEI. They done took over the entire legal system, especially these lower courts. And now that the Supreme Court has finally started moving in a way that gives conservatives a real chance to push back, here comes the political termites, the EBT Republicans inside the Republican Party. They just chewing through the foundation. Y'all, this is not just about Jim Clyburn. Okay, I hope you know that. Yeah, I'm a little passionate about this. It's because this is about the entire conservative movement being sabotaged from within. We already had to deal with the Candace Owenses. Now the left doesn't need to beat us. How is the left gonna? Why would they need to beat us if our own people are blocking the door from the inside? That is the part that people need to understand. A Democrat standing in front of you, that's one thing. We can deal with that. But a Democrat hiding behind an R? Oh, that's a whole nother different kind of danger. This is how you get Republican majorities and Democrat outcomes. And it all makes sense now. And I know some of y'all like, listen, I know some of these state senators and they are not undercover Democrats. Well, until they prove to me otherwise, I'm calling them sleepers. Because this makes, of all the things for you to vote on, to side with the Democrat, unseating Jerome Crow, Jim Clyburn, Stephen from Django, you vote not to redraw the maps so that he can stay in power? Yeah, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go down. Listen, this is why Trump is different. And this is why the Republican Party post-Trump will never be the same. Because Trump is the first president in modern memory for me who's not just saying, hey, vote Republican. Donald Trump is like, which one? Which Republican? Oh, because he knows something that a lot of people, we are finally starting to wake up to. The problem is not just Democrats. This is what he meant by drain the swamp. The problem is the Republicans who enable them. Yeah, the Republicans who campaign like warriors, but they govern like substitute teachers who can't control their classroom because they don't know what they're doing. Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is the Republicans who talk like conservatives. Oh, during election season, they just like died in the wool. Republican to the bone. But then they vote like the deacons of dependency when it matters. Trump knows this. He knows it. This is why he's gotten involved in these primaries, because he's like, look at here, we gotta make sure that we gotta get a certain element out. It's a part of draining the swamp. This is why he's endorsing challengers. This is why he is calling people out by name. He don't give a darn. And this is why the political class hates him. They can't stand him. Because see, Trump is not just fighting Democrats. He's exposing the control opposition that's inside his own party. And that is exactly why they hate him so much. This is why they have impeached him. They keep trying to indict him, raid his house, smear his name, try to bankrupt him, completely try to destroy his life and remove him from the ballots. And yes, after what this country has watched with our own eyes, after all the assassination attempts, after all of it, you better believe the hatred toward Donald Trump, oh, this is not normal political disagreement. It's because Trump called it. He was like, look, they're not after me. Okay, they're after you. I'm just in the way. And we just witnessed what happened in South Carolina is a perfect example. The people are not asking for something radical. All we're asking is for Republicans to act like Republicans. We are asking, listen, use your power lawfully. Stop protecting these darn freak nasty Diddycrats. And we're asking you to stop preserving the political machinery that's keeping these leftists in control because they're coming for our children. And somehow even that is just too much for some of these people. So yes, Trump is in the way. He is in the way of all the Marxists, and he's in the way of the bureaucrats. He is in the way of the consultant class, the donor class. He's in the way of all these sleeper Republicans. Oh, they got comfortable betraying conservatives with no consequences, but those consequences are coming. You say it's a coincidence. Maybe. But I was born at night, not last night, and I am not going to pretend that this does not smell like a political fish fry in July. This was strategic. The left is very organized and they play long ball. This is why conservatives got to stop being lazy and stop voting for people just because they have an R next to their name. Stop letting these smooth talking political church boys and the country club conservatives sell you betrayal with a smile. Look at the fruit. Look at their voting records. Look at the outcomes. If a Republican vote helps advance the agenda of people who want to pack the courts and impeach Trump and expand the government and keep black voters locked inside these Democrat Marxist controlled districts, I don't care what party label that you're wearing. You're an infiltrator. And South Carolina conservatives need to wake the heck up. The sleeper cells are not sleeping anymore. They've been activated. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm on to something? Do you think them 14 Republicans are sleepers, sleeping in South Carolina, posing as Republicans, but they're really Democrats because of all the things to vote for? To vote to keep Jim Clyburn's district intact is nasty work. But I want to hear from you guys. I'm curious to know what you guys think. Leave me your thoughts and your theories in the comments box below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.